Okay, so this is part 2 of the Smart Cities talk because I ran out of battery juice. I'm on page 172, 10 tips for forming funding alliances. Number 3, there's clear mission and good goal alignment around desired impact. Most often are replicable, scalable program that positively affects multiple constituents. 4, challenges, barriers, and risks are identified. 5, clear plans are developed to accomplish goals and mitigate risks. 6, there's ownership and engagement of all partners, funders, supporters, and implementers. 7, project governance, respect roles and boundaries. 8, there are regular project reports with full transparency. 9, there's flexibility to adjust plans, timeline, and resource allocations. 10, there are celebrations of progress and recognition of people contributing to impact. So in case you're wanting to do that. 173, contributing to a single grant-making fund requires strong goal agreement and a capable lead grant maker. It may jeopardize the tax status of a nonprofit or shut out potential partners. Coordinated funding, foundations take on aspects of a project like hardware, capacity building, advocacy. Page 211, Joanne Wise, Re-Innovators. 1, be clear who owns the levers and put them in the driver's seat. 2, grant competitions and prizes can channel innovation if they're pointed in the right directions and supported in the right ways. 3, be tight on the goals but loose on the means to encourage a diversity of solutions. 4, risk-taking is critical to innovation, but failure is the nemesis of compliance. So evidence-based decision-making is critical to implementation. 5, transparency drives up quality and accelerates learning. So I wanted to point out number 1, be clear who owns the levers and put them in the driver's seat. Well, to be clear, who owns the levers is really the public, right? They're the public. So unless you're, if you're looking for how to reform public education, it's the public who owns the levers. It's not, say, Bill Gates, for example. It shouldn't be. 216, basic philanthropic change strategy. 1, innovative mindset, increased demand for high quality learning. 2, sustained leadership, networks of leaders that share a common vision. 3, talent development, teachers, leaders, support learning. 4, collective impact, aligned of activated partners, work toward common goals. 5, aligned investment, funding for pilots and change maybe levers. I don't know what I wrote there. 6, new tools in schools. 7, policy change, lower barriers to change. So they want a kind of what do you call it? What capitalism? They don't like. Free market. They don't like government involvement as much, right? So, and that's what they're wanting to do for education. They're wanting more of a free market kind of strategy. So,
looks like
227, mayors should, 1, expand access to increase early learning experiences. And I do agree that there should be childcare, like across, and it should be educational. Why not? But 2, increase broadband access for low-income families. And there's public libraries for that. 3, encourage business to provide work-based learning. 4, sponsor youth entrepreneurship programs. 5, sponsor community leadership development program.
Youth entrepreneur.
I know.
Oh gosh, when I see the people at university, they're going to management and stuff like that. There's some nice and competent ones, but the vast majority let down the side.
6, work with the state to ease barriers to business formation. 228, learning professionals should 1, focus learning, 2, broaden learning, pick something new to learn about each year, and I totally agree with that. 3, blend learning, platform like Bloomboard, I don't know what that is. 4, some hands-on learning, and 5, work-based learning. 6, write 50 probing questions. 6, chronicle your professional development, so have a portfolio of your learning. And I guess I do now. Share your
Why
learning.
50?
I don't know.
It should be a thought a day.
Write a weekly blog about what you're learning, and I guess I do. 8, support peer learning, and I guess that's what I'm doing here too. 9, extend your impact. Teach a class online or pilot another extended reach strategy. 230, 10 things parents should do. 1, manage student online time. They have work to do. Turn off devices and have dinner together each day, and I agree with that. 2, boost career awareness. 3, 8th graders will be doing college level work in 2 years. Make your 8th graders aware of it. Make sure high schoolers take a few online courses. Well, basically, when you're in grade 9, you're already learning to write at a college level and stuff like that.
I wish that were the case. I think it's. I mean, John keeps on. He works at York University in English, and he just says it gets worse and worse. The competence in English and math, it's probably even worse than that.
Oh, I know. I've heard it from other people
they're
too.
not ready for university.
They're not. But the thing is university is still somehow pumping them out. They're still getting passed along the system.
Mm-hmm.
And like I remember
and
when I was in high
that's private
school,
as well as public university,
sure.
especially in the
when I was in high school, I took a number of different courses, and some I hadn't realized it, but there was some of the courses that I was taking were remedial sort of courses. I was just interested in them, so outdoor living and
canoeing. No,
that
canoeing
one wasn't
too.
it. No,
You would have
but
taken it though, right?
we learned how to like do things like
Was canoeing
make
part of it?
fishing.
Yeah.
What do you call them?
Fishing rod?
No.
Fish nets?
No. The little fake insects that you put at the
Lures. Lures?
maybe
Lures?
I don't know.
I think that's what they're called.
Fly fishing. I think.
Yeah, for
Anyway,
fly fishing.
Yeah. So we learned how to, and that's where I met Marlo actually. But
I kind of got that impression.
yeah, I think that's right. And anyway, she was drawing a cross upside down, and she handed it to me, or I was interested in her artwork because she was a beautiful artist. And so it was very detailed, and anyway. And so I turned it around the right way. Well, for me, right? Because that's what I was raised with. And she just kind of laughed, right? Because I didn't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, but yeah, I took art and stuff. And what I was wanting to say about that was that there was a guy that I was going to school with in my art class who he didn't know how to read at all. He'd been passed along the system all the way up to grade 9. He didn't know how to read at all. So somehow he made it to the high school that way. Interesting, right? I mean, you'd think somebody along the line would have noticed and went, "Oof, we're going to have to hold you back a little ways, and you're going to have to learn this."
Cared.
Anyway, family learning. Pick a topic and learn together. And I agree with that too. 5, 1 day a month, build, code, or post something together.
Build code?
Yeah.
Computer?
Yeah. And, well, if that's what your kid's interested in. And, I mean, this works out really great for, say, private industry who want to just steal whatever you whatever work you come up with.
Like Bill
You just-
Gates stole
exactly.
his
So
underlings
if
work.
you're encouraging people, just once a month, post that stuff online so
sure,
we can
yeah.
just take her.
that's right.
Don't have to pay you for
Take it and run.
Yep.
Run to the bank.
6, encourage high schoolers to start a business in high school. By high school graduation, they should have an LLC, a website, and a mobile app. 7, review
Sounds
their
like
digital
a waste
portfolio
of time, but
quarterly and help them build positive social media. 8, help them ID their learning style. And that's a good idea. 231. Government fund universal access to preschool and full day kindergarten. And I do believe that, but I don't think the government should be funding anything that this person is involved with.
yeah, he's what? I can't find where he was educated.
So
Anyway, move on to bigger and maybe even worse things.
So, A Vigilante. Now, this is starring Olivia Wilde, and she is thinner in this than I've seen her in anything. And wasn't she a ballerina or something?
There's
Anyway.
one that was ballerina.
But
I always mix her up with Keira Knightley.
she is not suited to this role because if they would have hired somebody like Serena Williams, I would have believed that it was possible that the character was taking on abusive husbands and parents. Well, maybe the mother, but the husbands. Come on. I mean, scenes of her punching the punching bag, and it's like it's not moving. Like honestly, and nobody would believe that she would be able. Well, maybe I was telling James that when I was young, I honestly believed that I was every bit as strong as any man. Like maybe not the big muscle guys, but I could take anyone on. And if I wanted to, it's just that I didn't want to. And, but then I worked with a really nice Christian young man, and he could tell, I don't know what I'd said, but he could tell that I had no idea how much stronger men were than women. And so he said, okay, let's arm wrestle. And it was over. And it was like I wasn't even trying, it was just down. And so I think I even said to him, I think I even said, well, can we try again or whatever. So I think it took me a couple tries before I realized, wow, there's just no chance, there's no one. And James was telling me about
I only got it in secondhand. The Montel Williams show. So someone was telling me that there was some woman who was teaching women that they could fight guys off, in the case of a street attack or something like that. Well, Montel Williams is a former Navy SEAL or something like that.
And he was
stayed in
fit.
shape.
Yeah, but not the biggest guy in the
So
world. Still.
I don't know exactly what happened. I just had it described. He would apparently kind of put a hold on her and said, get out of it.
Yeah.
And she couldn't.
No.
So the guy who was reporting it to might have exaggerated, and I might have misinterpreted it somewhat. But I think it's basically that way. So one report I ran across, it might be inaccurate, but indicated that women have 2/3 of the muscular potential of men in the legs.
So
But when
your
it
legs are pretty strong.
Yeah, so you can run.
Not your
But
arms.
upper arms 1/3 maybe. And so you don't want to get in a struggle.
And that's somebody the
and-
same size.
Now, most guys are going to waylay you. Most, I think, are going to be pretty dumb. I mean, it's just no, it's not a class thing. It's just they're just dumb. I worked at a cop shop for a while, and most of the criminals were just droolingly stupid. So women, when they get into a situation like that, have got to use their wits. They're going to, on average, be smarter than these flunky guys. There'll be all sorts of exceptions. There'll be guys like Ted Bundy and stuff like that. But try to use your wits, and do do fight back. But don't think muscles are going to do it.
No.
Like, have keys in your hand. Make sure, like, that you get that guy bleeding.
Make sure you have DNA under your fingernails
and tell them.
And
You're
if
gonna
you
get
can,
caught.
bite off a piece of them and swallow it and say, you're going to have to kill me because and be really good about hiding my body and stuff like that because I now have your DNA. So anything happens to me and the police find me, they're going to find you.
So that's an extreme case. Of course, most of the time women get beaten up. It's things like domestics and things like
Yeah.
that. And in that situation, please don't fight the guy.
Yeah.
You do not want to fight OJ or something like that. There's lots of guys who they might be running to gut and stuff like that, but they do weight training.
At
Just
some
the
point,
average guy.
I mean, maybe you should fight the guy if he is going to kill you. I mean, if you're a
Well,
woman and you've been in this
okay,
relationship for a long time.
Bring a friend. You're not going to do it physically. You know,
No,
like,
but you're going to die anyway.
yeah.
If you know you're going to die, if
Yeah.
you know he's going to kill you, make
Oh, yeah.
sure you have the DNA evidence so
Yeah.
that he's not going to kill the next person.
I'm amazed they didn't preserve OJ's blood. Wasn't that 93, 94? They were something really fishy happened there. He was cut all over the place. His blood would have been all over
So
the place.
James, why don't you mention A War Over Reality? Because this is what I wanted to talk about with this
Okay.
book.
Anyway, oh yeah. So the it was literally a trailer. It came after, not before the show.
Yeah.
Was about serial
killers.
killers or something like that. I was wondering about the tenor of the show. It was all doom and gloom about the future, technology and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. But it seems really independent, like really independent. Like I think maybe one person worked on this, and they didn't do enough research to. They might have been able to come up with kind of kooky blog post.
So yeah,
Not
the
a
first half of it is kind of like, computers are going to control everything. Like we'll just be helpless in front of the computer. And then the second half of the show, and it was about 75 minutes long, or
Yeah, it wasn't even very long.
wasn't very long, but the second
It
half,
felt
so
long.
a half hour, a little bit more, 40 minutes, was saying one hacker could bring down the whole system. Which is it? Which is it? Are computers going to control everything, everyone, or is the system going to be such
Yeah,
that
they
one
didn't
little
even
hacker?
have it all
Yeah, I think they
thought
said
out well
pimply
enough.
little hacker
Yeah,
is going to
exactly.
bring it all
And-
down. It's all doom and gloom. Now I tend to think things are going to get pretty controlled pretty quickly.
And so they were all talking about, it's Orwellian kind of now, right? And so the 1984 sort of stuff, right? But he didn't even have the sense to mention where the hackers would have been coming from, and
well, he
and they're not
mentions
just like
breaking into the
just any,
Democratic
like, guy that's-
National Convention.
these guys
And he
put
was
out
saying
or
he was
whatever.
saying someone broke into it.
Yeah.
It was someone's, and it was the Russians, for Pete's sake. And the Russians have the best, from what I can tell, the best computer people in the world. I mean, I think the only person who's won multiple hacker competitions, whatever it's called, has been a Russian, right? Now, I hope he isn't loyal to Vladimir Putin. Well, who knows? And how many other guys like him, or gals or whatever, are lurking around? It tends to be guys, right?
Sure.
Who do the hacking. But they work, I think, out of St. Petersburg or Leningrad, whatever they call it now. And they've got a little office building. It's not big, and the hacking here and hacking there, and so on and so forth. So it wasn't one pimply teenager that broke into the Democratic National Convention. The people that were feeding WikiLeaks and Julian Assange, or however you pronounce his name, it wasn't like some anarchist kind of dudes. Incidentally, that Assange guy apparently is a libertarian, but he's believes in free markets. So, he's a hero to all sorts of left-wingers like anarchists and stuff like that. But he believes in the free market. That means he's a right-wing libertarian. He works for the Russians, you morons. Anyway, sorry about that.
No, that's fine. I mean, the guy who did this, he did some research that you can go, yeah, that's accurate. And then way off into outer space. Just not, the thought process is not there. It's really not a watchable documentary. It's pretty bad. Pretty badly done. James was mentioning the racist moment in the
Was
in
it
the
just
film.
one? What was that in particular?
Well,
I'm trying to
the
single
guy
out.
was meaning to. I don't think he was even intending to seem racist
I wouldn't
at all.
call it racist, more like racial prejudice.
Yeah.
Racist is way too much.
Okay, yeah,
Used too
it's
much,
used.
But, I probably used the term, but
Yeah, I
you know
know.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But what was it about?
Well,
I can remember
comparing the machines, the technology to.
Oh yeah, so you know, like if eventually, you know, we think of machines, is what this dude is saying.
He says the
as
master.
slaves.
Yeah.
Eventually,
the slaves
though,
will become the master.
The slaves will have a revolt.
Yeah.
And so it shows this black guy kind of escaping.
He's
from,
just running away.
You know, this would be Civil War time and stuff like that. And going, dude, do you not realize the implications of this? He's saying, you know, like, oh my God. And, you know, like it was
the
poorly
machines in this are the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
The machine, our technology is
No,
what we
this,
have to be
this
worried
poor
about
black guy
because they're
was
going to
just
enslave
running.
us. and
He wasn't
they're gonna
revolting.
No.
You know what I'm saying? So at
No.
least they didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Have
it
him
was
with a
ridiculous.
pitchfork
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
after us.
It was so bad.
So yeah,
the whole thing. That's
they
just
didn't
one
even
example.
realize what they
Yeah,
were doing
yeah,
with
it's
that.
just like, why would you do
whoa.
that? Yeah, like there were other slave revolts. Like there was one in Iraq, right? It might have been the greatest slave revolt. I think it lasted for 8 years or something like that. Southern part of Iraq, and when was it? I think it was before 1000 AD and after 600 AD. So I don't have to tell you who they were rebelling against. It was against a civilization that is supposed to be very enlightened and tolerant. But they had a huge whack of slaves. So many in southern Iraq. It would be on plantations and stuff like that. They couldn't quell the rebellion. I think it was for almost 10 years.
Well, I mean, I do agree with some aspects of the documentary. Like, I do believe that we're right now there is a problem with. It is quite. I've often used doublespeak in my post, and it's amazing how one can compare a lot of aspects of our culture today with 1984. So I would say yes, Orwellian, but not where he's going.
Well, we're,
like,
you know, the brain police
we're at
aren't after us. You know what I'm
no,
saying?
nobody's going to care about us.
You know,
But
That's the thing
fact
about
of the matter
capitalists is they
is, you
just
have
outshout you.
TVs and computer screens that are looking right back at you.
Mm-hmm. You know.
Do you care? I don't. What are they gonna get from looking at me? And I mean, James took a linguistics course where it was part of the requirement in order to get a grade for one component of the complete grade of the course, where you had to do voice transplant. So
I didn't
you
have,
volunteer
no, I didn't
your
have
voice.
to. That was just for bonus marks.
Yes,
And it
but
might
to
have
get the
been
marks, you had to.
Bonus marks. You know.
Marks.
You know, well,
So,
some people got to use that. I didn't really need. I was going to get the A+ anyway, as
Yeah.
it turns out. But
But
I did it anyway.
at the same time, he also had to sign something that was saying that it could be used for commercial
Commercial
uses.
purposes.
Yeah.
So that was voluntary.
Yes.
You understand the.
So his voice could be used to sell whatever pharmaceutical drugs or something in the future, or you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen with your voice, or your voice could be used to.
That's why I used my Mickey. I was
narrate a documentary like this.
You know that?
No.
I was.
You weren't.
I-
But that would have been funny.
That would have been fun.
Yeah, you
if I
should have
done-
done it.
I should
Why
have
didn't you
changed
think
it
of
up.
Yeah.
I don't think about things like. I just wanted to get it done quickly,
Hmm.
and the big trouble is it wasn't quite as presented. You know, it
Yeah.
it kept on. The goalpost kept moving, as they say in football. You know,
Mm.
like you're running down the field, and all of a sudden someone's moving the goalpost. And you're going, "Hey, I should have scored a touchdown by now."
And really,
So it
you
went
know,
on and on and on. It just went. Remember, it just went on for months and months.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the fault of the teacher who assigned it. I
and-
don't think she realized what all was involved in it. Right?
Yeah, I don't
It's the
think so,
people
anyway.
at the volunteer association.
I did a GIS thing, so they have satellite images, and there's one that I remember being shown in class that you could see the outlines of a tennis net and stuff like that. And they say that, well, you know, even though it looks like you can see every detail in this aerial image, right, from satellite, they're saying satellite's not accurate to, it's not accurate to that level, right? So you can't actually measure, but it's like, obviously you can, you know, if you can see this image and that's what it looks like, then it is accurate. But we're being taught right now that the satellites can't accurately detect you can't calculate distance that accurately, even though it's obvious that you can. So, and
even if
there's
you can't now, next year or the year after. You know, it was amazing. Last night I was checking
you
out
bet
this
you
one
the military
mysterious mission.
And-
I checked out. My dad and I went to. The road was so bad. We're in a microbus, and I was small for my age.
they can actually see underground with satellites. They can see under the ground. So if you're hiding in a cave, they can see you. If they want to see you, they can see you. And so if you're in your house, you betcha they can see you. They can see you right inside your house. And that's even if you don't have the TV screens and computer screens that they can look through to see you. They can still see you if they really wanted to. The thing is why would they care to be watching James and I? Nobody would want to. Nobody
pretty boring.
watches us. You can
Like
watch us on
there's 12
the
of you-
blog.
there's
and
12 of you out there or
There's
something
nobody
like that.
watching me right now,
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure.
Anyway, yeah, you know, if you're on a landline, they'll listen to you, and of course, cell phones. It's easy to
Yeah.
hack into those sorts of things. And anyone who's interested in what we talk about on phones to whomever we care to talk to is,
They're very lonesome. And I feel bad for them if they're
exactly.
really wanting to listen up.
I understand if we were in Russia,
We don't have
you know,
anything
or some, well, almost any other place aside from the so-called West, they'd be very concerned. You know? They just don't like dissidents and stuff like that.
I don't know.
Capitalists
anybody would be
really don't care. When Marx pointed it out, and I'm not a Marxist, just want to make that clear. But he pointed out a long time ago, capitalists can outshout you. You know, they kind of have a monopoly on meeting hall places and stuff like that. They own them, right?
Yeah.
And so on and so forth. They tend to own the newspapers. So this would be like 150 years ago. He died something like 1883, and he recognized that. Well, they've got way more power now, in terms of shouting you out. They don't care what you shout. It's the stupid dictators going around. They just want unconditional love or obedience or both.
It's power. Yeah, it's a power thing. It's not
so
love.
they just can't take having any decisions.